Deep in the jungles of Guyana, a tragedy unfolded. A settlement called Jonestown became synonymous with horror. Over 900 people died. It was a mass suicide, orchestrated by a charismatic leader. This is the story of Jonestown, a place where hope turned to despair, a place where paradise was lost. The year was 1978. The world watched in disbelief. How could this happen? How could so many be led astray? The answers lie in the complex life of Jim Jones and the blind faith of his followers. Jim Jones was a complex figure, a man of many contradictions and deep-seated ambitions. He was charismatic, drawing people in with promises of equality, social justice, and a better world for all. His ability to connect with people on a personal level was unparalleled. He founded the People's Temple in Indiana in the 1950s, a time when America was grappling with issues of civil rights and social change. Jones preached a message of social justice and racial integration, advocating for a society where everyone, regardless of race or background, could live together in harmony. He attracted a diverse following, people from all walks of life who were inspired by his vision of a utopian society. People were drawn to his charisma and message of hope, believing that he could lead them to a better future. But Jones had a dark side, one that would eventually overshadow his noble ideals. He was deeply paranoid and power-hungry. He demanded absolute loyalty from his followers, and dissent was not tolerated. Anyone who questioned his authority was met with severe consequences. As time went on, he began to exert more and more control over his followers' lives, dictating their actions and thoughts. He claimed to have supernatural powers, convincing his followers that he was a divine being with the ability to heal and perform miracles. He used fear and intimidation to keep them in line, creating an atmosphere of constant surveillance and suspicion. The seeds of tragedy were sown, as his unchecked power and growing paranoia set the stage for one of the most devastating events in modern history. In the 1970s, Jones moved his followers to Guyana. He promised them a utopia, a socialist paradise free from the evils of the outside world. They built Jonestown with their own hands. It was hard work, but they were hopeful. They believed in Jones and his vision. Life in Jonestown was communal. Everyone worked together for the common good. They shared what they had. There was a sense of community and belonging. For a time, it seemed like Jonestown might actually be the utopia they had dreamed of, but this idyllic facade would not last. As time went on, Jones's grip on his followers tightened. He became increasingly controlling and paranoid. He demanded absolute obedience. He implemented strict rules and punishments. Dissent was met with public humiliation and beatings. Jones's teachings became stranger. He claimed to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ and Buddha. He spoke of conspiracies and enemies all around them. He convinced his followers that the outside world was evil and that they were the only righteous people left. Fear and paranoia permeated every aspect of life in Jonestown. Section 5. Congressman Ryan's Visit, a Glimmer of Hope. By 1978, rumors of abuse and human rights violations in Jonestown had reached the outside world. Concerned relatives of Jonestown residents contacted Congressman Leo Ryan. Ryan decided to investigate. He flew to Jonestown with a delegation of journalists and concerned family members. At first, Jones welcomed Ryan and his delegation. He put on a show for them, showcasing Jonestown's supposed happiness and prosperity, but the facade began to crumble. Some residents slipped Ryan notes begging for help. They wanted to leave. Ryan agreed to take them, but their escape would be short-lived. Section 6. The Nightmare Unfolds. November 18, 1978. As Ryan and his group prepared to leave Jonestown with the defectors, Jones's security guards opened fire. They killed Ryan, 3 journalists, and 1 defector. The others were wounded. The massacre at the airstrip marked the beginning of the end for Jonestown. Jones, realizing the gravity of the situation, gathered his followers. He told them that the outside world would attack them. He said there was only one way out. He called it revolutionary suicide. He ordered his followers to drink cyanide-laced flavor aid. The nightmare had begun. Section 7. The White Night, a symphony of screams. The air was thick with fear and confusion. Armed guards surrounded the pavilion. Parents were told to give the poison to their children first. Babies cried. Mothers sobbed. But they obeyed. Those who resisted were forced to drink the poison at gunpoint. Some were injected. The air was filled with the cries of the dying. Over 900 people, including over 300 children, died that night. It was a scene of unimaginable horror. The jungle echoed with the cries of the innocent. Section 8. Aftermath. Picking up the pieces. The world watched in horror as news of the massacre spread. Rescue workers arrived at Jonestown to find a scene of unimaginable carnage. Bodies were everywhere. The stench of death hung heavy in the air. It was a grim task to identify the dead and notify their families. The scale of the tragedy was overwhelming. It was the largest single loss of American civilian life in a deliberate act until September 11, 2001. The world struggled to comprehend how such a thing could happen. How could so many be led to their deaths? Section 9. The world reacts. Shock and disbelief. The Jonestown Massacre sent shockwaves around the world. People struggled to understand how such a tragedy could occur. How could a charismatic leader convince so many people to take their own lives? The massacre became a symbol of the dangers of cults and blind faith. The tragedy also sparked debate about the role of the media, the responsibility of religious leaders, and the nature of cults. It raised questions about the human capacity for both good and evil. The world searched for answers. Section 10. Legacy of Jonestown, a warning against blind faith. The Jonestown Massacre, which occurred on November 18, 1978, remains one of the most harrowing examples of the catastrophic consequences that can arise from blind faith and unquestioning loyalty to a single leader. The Jonestown Massacre remains a chilling reminder of the dangers of cult mentality and the devastating consequences of blind faith. Over 900 people lost their lives in a mass suicide murder orchestrated by Jim Jones, the leader of the People's Temple. This tragic event underscores the peril of surrendering one's autonomy and critical thinking to a charismatic figure. It serves as a warning against the allure of charismatic leaders who demand absolute obedience. Jim Jones was able to manipulate and control his followers through a combination of charm, fear, and psychological manipulation. His ability to command such unwavering loyalty ultimately led to one of the most tragic events in modern history. The tragedy also highlights the importance of critical thinking, questioning authority, and valuing individual freedom. In a world where information is readily available, it is crucial to remain vigilant and skeptical of those who seek to control and manipulate others for their own gain. The Jonestown Massacre serves as a stark reminder of the need to protect our individual freedoms and to always question those in positions of power. The legacy of Jonestown is a somber one. It is a testament to the fragility of human life and the ease with which it can be exploited by those with malicious intent. The memorials and plaques serve as a poignant reminder of the lives lost and the families forever changed by this tragedy. It is a reminder of the fragility of human life and the importance of protecting the vulnerable. The survivors and the families of the victims continue to grapple with the aftermath of this horrific event, and their stories serve as a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It is a story that continues to fascinate and horrify us today. The Jonestown Massacre is not just a historical event, it is a cautionary tale that resonates with contemporary issues of power, control, and the human capacity for both good and evil. A story that must never be forgotten. As we remember the victims and reflect on the lessons of Jonestown, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance, critical thinking, and the enduring value of human life and freedom. Section 11. Remembering the victims, never again. In the aftermath of the tragedy, it is important to remember the victims. Each person who perished in Jonestown was more than just a name on a list. They were individuals with unique stories, aspirations, and loved ones who still mourn their loss. The men, women, and children who lost their lives in Jonestown were not just followers of a cult. They were teachers, nurses, students, and friends. They were people who had dreams of a better future, who sought community and belonging. They were individuals with hopes, dreams, and families who loved them. Their lives were intertwined with those of their families and friends, creating a tapestry of human connection that was tragically torn apart. We must honor their memory by learning from the mistakes of the past. By understanding the factors that led to such a devastating event, we can work towards preventing similar tragedies in the future. We must strive to create a world where such a tragedy can never happen again. A world where individuals are empowered to think critically and question authority, where communities are built on trust and mutual respect. A world where freedom of thought, critical thinking and compassion prevail. It is through education, empathy and vigilance that we can ensure the safety and well-being of future generations. Let Jonestown be a reminder that the price of blind faith is too high. Let us never forget the lessons learned from this dark chapter in history. By remembering the victims and understanding the past, we can build a brighter, safer future for all.